I remember you brought that up, and I was like, it's because they're scared to lose, Benny, and some people
Yeah,
can't handle losing. And I listened to that episode, and I sounded like such a smug. I think I was a little too judgmental because like everybody's
yeah,
got different life experiences and life circumstances that might prevent them from coming out to play again. Like we just got done talking about all these reasons why we stop playing other video games, right? And why the
yeah.
backlog gets so big, right? And
Yep.
for all we know, that could have happened there, and it does. I didn't have to like psychoanalyze people and be like, it's because you can't cope with loss. That's not
Yeah, John.
necessarily.
He might have had a newborn baby, John. Come on, he might be. He's like, screw that Porter John guy. I was like, I'm over here waking up at 3 in the morning feeding my kid.
Yep.
Defend
Yeah,
your title,
exactly.
damn it.
So I apologize if the Porta John was. Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 66. My name is Benny, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John, and also by the X Button today. How's it going, X Button?
Hey, doing good. I actually just got off work, but I'm real excited to be here.
Sweet. That's awesome, man. It's just like, it's not quite the end of 2023, but I mean, we're almost there. So today we're basically going to talk a little bit about kind of 2023 in general, and then maybe a little peek into 2024 and what each of us kind of has planned or what we're looking forward to that's coming around the corner. So
Sure.
let me see. In general, man, where do we even start? Let's do something like personal wise in terms of like 2023. We can start off with the X Button here. What are some things that you have done personally this year, whether they were goals that you were set or just changes in your life or things like that happened?
I mean, definitely a new job's always nice, but I do want to talk more. I love games, as always, as everyone is here. Like to try to keep going with the catalog. I started doing the thing that SNK and you and
Yeah.
Munchie does, where you talk about the games you beat this year. I did kind of get lazy and like midway through, mostly because like Street Fighter took up a lot of my time, so I didn't really have many single player games to push. So
Yeah.
I started doing some later in the year and catching up on some of the backlog. Signalis was a game I wanted to play last year really badly, never had time for it, and I finished it for Spooky Month this year. And beautiful game. It's after finishing it, I still thought about it for like another 2-3 weeks, and I think
Wow.
that's like left a lasting impact. And just like I gotta start telling people about it. Like this game's sick. There's a lot of open narration, fun gameplay choices and styles, and it's just a solid game. I kind of wish I played it sooner. Wish I played it on release to join the madness of like discussions and what people are talking about.
And what was the
For
name of the
sure.
game again?
Signalis.
Signalis?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I've heard someone say Signalis.
Signal. Okay.
Yeah, there's a few YouTube videos I checked out, and they all said something different. So,
So would
And
you
of
call that
course,
your game of the year then, Maynard?
it's a late game. So it's like if it's games I played this year, yes, it's the game that I played this year that I would call it the game of the year. But it's last year's game. It was
yeah.
nominated
Oh,
for
I see.
indie and horror game last year.
Okay.
So like if I can't count it for this year, like because it was last year's title,
Hmm.
honestly, my game of the year this year would be Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi
I
Rush.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to play Baldur's Gate. Like Baldur's Gate's not for me.
Yeah.
I didn't get to finish Armored Core. Like Armored Core started solid after the first boss, and I don't know what happened. Like I didn't like the way Armored Core was telling its story, so I kind of slowly fell off. I do want to jump back into it. The gameplay is fun, but and then I heard a lot about Alan Wake 2. In the last
Yeah.
podcast, I hear the
Ooh.
huge praises from Hippo, and
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of that game.
I want to get to it, but I also heard Alan Wake's such a big world and big story that I feel like I need to play some of the other games first to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I didn't play Devil May Cry 5 when it first came out, because I missed 4 and 3, and there's a lot of like storytelling between some of the characters. And a character shows up and they're like, "Oh, this is a big important character." I'm like, I have no connection with that character.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing a big point of the game. So I was like, I got to stop playing this right now. I need to play the other ones. And I just never finished
Interesting.
5. So
Yeah.
Really? Okay. 5 is a fantastic game. That is that game would have won Game of the Year, I think, in any other year. I think that was the year the Breath of the Wild came out.
Yeah, rough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
looked at the
actually like
name.
a good mirror for how this year went. Is like every time there's a new Zelda that comes out, like that year, every other game is fantastic too, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone talks about 1997 being with the Ocarina of Time year, like and like GoldenEye or was it 98? One of the two. Like that golden age, and then Breath of the Wild coming out and all those fantastic games coming out that year. And then this year's really good for video games with Tears of the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kingdom and what is it? What was the real like Starfield came out and that was really anticipated. Baldur's Gate obviously won Game of the Year at Game Awards.
yeah,
Street Fighter 6, the best fighting game at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I
yeah.
can't believe Sifu didn't make it back.
I like Sifu though. Sifu's
I
pretty
did. I
good.
enjoyed Sifu.
Yeah, I need
Really
to
good.
play through that. The gamer that I am. I think what I like as I've gotten older, like I think I was mentioning that too. Like, man, if I had FOMO, like I would be a mess, right? Because like I can't keep up with anything. I'd be like, man, my life sucks. I can't play any games, but I don't really like. Part of me is just kind of indifferent, and I'm just not super interested in a lot of stuff nowadays. But I don't know. It's like I just have this huge backlog of stuff, even Netflix and stuff. Like I have stuff that like I want to watch with my family, and then it's just like with my
Yeah.
work schedule at night, like it's hard to find time. And then when we do find time, it's just like, what do we watch? And then like something new comes out and pops out, and just like, let's watch this. And I'm just like, but I have 800 hours of other stuff that like we were talking about before that I should be watching instead. But no, let's watch the thing that just came out yesterday. And it's like, so
Your
it's an
entertainment
ongoing
choices.
saga. Same thing with
They,
my Steam backlog and whatever, Game Pass backlog and whatever. There's just just a constant, endless cycle, man.
yeah, I've got a bad habit about building out a backlog and then never going back to it too. Like we bought a PlayStation 5 after Black Friday. And so immediately I was like, okay, I mean we bought a PS5, we might as well download some games and there was Black Friday sales and everything, so might as well. And so we ended up picking up like, big AAA games like Final Fantasy 16,
Mhm.
the one that came out this year, or like Horizon Forbidden West and Spider Man, like both Spider Mans on PS5,
Yeah,
and I haven't touched any of them.
yeah,
And then so I was excited because I finally have a 4K gaming system to match with my 4K TV, and then I downloaded Sea of Stars, and I've been playing Sea of Stars, which is not it's not necessary. 4K is not necessary for Sea of Stars. If anything, I should have got it on the
yeah,
fucking Switch because then I can play it portable. But
yeah.
yeah, so
I,
I'm a big fan of Sea of Stars right now. It. I was talking to a friend about it. It's like it won Best Indie Game at the Game Awards, and it feels like playing the game Golden Sun. Like I went into it thinking it was just going to be Chrono Trigger, like Chrono Trigger Fellatio for however many hours, but it's actually more similar to Golden Sun, including like the plot points and the story. And I'm starting to feel like it's a ripoff, but it's an homage. And all things considered, I really enjoy it. It feels the writing is like it feels like it like a 22-year-old wrote it at times. So it's a little
yeah,
shaky, but it does tickle the nostalgia factor, which I also was messing with Super Mario RPG remake, and that was hella nostalgia, just constant waves of nostalgia over and over and over again.
Uh,
yeah. I think. Go ahead.
my quick question for you, John, is: did you play The Messenger a few years back?
The Messenger.
It's a ninja
It's like
game.
a Ninja Gaiden style.
No, I remember you
Like,
mentioned that to me though, or you recommended it.
so
Yeah.
the thing that I was interested is, from what I understand, there's a lot of story elements that was also in The Messenger into Sea of Stars, and that's what got me interested in Sea of Stars.
Oh,
So
Wait, they're related? I didn't
yes,
even know that. Is it the same
so like
studio?
same studio and everything.
I had
So
no
like
idea either.
I was about to break my whole like I don't play turn-based games to play Sea of Stars because The Messenger story and world building definitely got me. And I wanted more, and they're like, the next game's turn-based. I'm like, damn it. So
I didn't even know they were in the same world. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
I guess
I
I
had
have
no
more
clue.
games to play. Great. Thanks,
Yeah,
Maynard.
I
yeah.
got you.
See, See, you mentioned Alan Wake 2, and like I was talking about that when we had King Hippo on, and like how I was wanting to play the first game, and I had trouble with like nausea with like for whatever reason on the 360,
Oh,
and then
that sucks.
I was looking at the I don't know if it was Twitter or Facebook ad or something that came up. I think it was Twitter. It was talking about if I bought Alan Wake 2 for like $30, then I get the Alan Wake remastered on PC included with it. So kind of tempted to buy that and add to the backlog and maybe finally start the first Alan Wake and try it on PC and see if hopefully I don't have the same nausea problems that I did with 360 with the remastered version. So I'm thinking about that. But it made me think about what you're talking about, John, about the whole backlog thing, right? Is like I always think about as a kid, like I got a game like a quarter, right? Like every 3 months, my parents might let me get a game, right? So I'd have to be real picky about the game I picked, right? And
Yeah.
hope that it was good, and like I had to make a really sound decision on what to buy, right? Or what I'm gonna get because you know what this is all I'm gonna have new for the next 3 months, right? And since I've been an adult, and like when I had my first job, I was bagging groceries on base at the commissary, and I would get paid cash tips. So I would walk over to the base exchange, the BX, and look at the games that were there, and I'd be like, okay, I want this, right? And I go
Sure.
back into work, get enough cash to go buy what I wanted. I'd go to the BX, go buy it, and then I'd go home and my dad'd be like, so how much money you make today? And I was like, about that. And it's gone already. Right? And like there was even times that I was like, because I had the accessibility to this stuff now, right? Like I was buying games just to buy games. And like I even at that time, that's pretty much like when it started. Like I had the opportunity to buy more stuff, but then at the same time, I didn't have the time like I did when I was a kid. I was a kid and I was like, hey, I got all the time in the world to play these games. And now it's like I got the money and the accessibility to get what I want, but I don't have the time anymore. So it's just like, or I just don't have that same excitement. So it's kind of funny how that comes like full circle as you get older.
It seems like it's the same reason no matter what. It's family. It's just
Yeah,
whether you're
exactly.
the kid or the parent. It's still always family.
Yeah, I mean that's what I tell my kids all the time. Like you guys are spoiled in terms of like your accessibility to games, even like mobile games. It's hard to turn down like, hey, can I get this game when it's only $1? Whereas like me, like asking my dad for a game and not at the time understanding what $60 or $70 of his time was worth, but knowing and understanding that as an adult now, I'm just like, okay, I get that part now. But I'm in. For me as a gamer, it's kind of hard for me to like not cave into my kids when they're just like, "Hey, can I get this?" And it's like, "Oh, how much is
Yeah.
it? $10?" And I was like, "Oh, that's it." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, you can have it." And I'm just like, "It's nothing."
It's also inflation, dog.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
$70, because that's the thing is like games haven't actually changed much in price since we were kids. They were still $70 when we were
yeah,
kids, and $70 was way more back then compared to what $70 is now.
yeah.
Granted,
Yep.
the industry is enormous now, and that's how they make up for it. But so you could argue that games are actually more financially accessible nowadays than they were back then, when you had to climb uphill both ways in the snow to buy your game off of a military base.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
remember I remember you
okay.
guys were talking about in the last episode about like the rentals and how you guys were getting games and such.
Oh yeah,
And
Blockbuster.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yeah,
Blockbuster era.
I kind of was lucky because like I was a Sega kid, so I was not into like I never had a Super Nintendo. I barely had an NES. But are you guys familiar with Sega Channel?
Was
Oh,
that
I
the
remember
internet thing?
that.
Yeah. So
Was
it
it
was
an
this
internet thing?
big fat cartridge. It was like the size of a 32X. It was a big fat cartridge that sat on your system. It plugged into your cable, and it gave you access to like a small server that had like 50 games a month. And the weird thing was is that like you had to like it was a list of games, 50 games, and you picked a game and it would download it into your cartridge. It took like 10 minutes to get like a Sega game downloaded into your cartridge,
Yeah.
but it was kind of cool in the sense that it was 50 games a month. So
Yeah.
uh yeah, that was kind of the way that I got to really explore and play a lot of games. I was kind of lucky in that aspect. Uh, the
Wow.
thing
Actually,
that
yeah.
the thing that sucked was it only had one save file. So if Fantasy Star was on there and Shadowrun was on the same month, you
Mhm.
could only play one game because that was the only save file. If you
Ah,
started Shadowrun and then played Fantasy Star, it overridden your Shadowrun file.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Oh, that
kind of whack.
sucks. That
Did you
actually
have any
sucks
problems
really
with that?
bad.
Because you have a older brother, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons that I know about it or remember it.
Oh
my
man.
my brother was playing Shadowrun, and then I heard a lot of good praise about Fantasy Star, so I wanted to try Fantasy Star out. And his Shadowrun file just completely gone. He had
Oh
like,
man.
I don't know, 5-10 hours on it, but for him it was a lot, so he got real pissed at me.
Yeah. Oh man. uh, that's
But
that's rough. I mean,
yeah,
those of us that like I said, are gamers, man. Like, yeah, losing progress, in any kind of form or fashion is always kind of a rough thing to deal with when you're playing games. Oh man.
but yeah, that's also how I got to play a lot of bad fighting games, such as like you guys talked about it, Eternal Champions.
Yeah.
That one was terrible. There was Brutal. I don't know if you remember that one. It was a furry
Oh,
fighting game.
brutal. Yeah. That was one of the ones that I always saw
Yeah.
ads for. Yeah.
And it was the one where you had no special moves. You had to play like 3 levels in to get your fireball, 5 levels in to get your Shoryuken. And that's how you unlocked it for versus mode too. So you don't even have a full versus mode until you beat the game with every character. It was a dumb game.
So
Oh
what
man,
else
but that
happened this year, guys? I feel like Benny, you started pilot school this year, right?
yeah, that was a couple months ago. For me, like my personal goals, like that was the biggest thing that I wanted to do. It's like I didn't have any particular goals in mind with that to like finish anything. It was more just to get started because like I tried to get started at the end of last year and just due to various reasons I couldn't do it. So it was kind of in the back of my mind, like, I want to get started on this somehow and kind of get it going. And thanks to my wife and for kind of just getting that going and just saying, you know what, we can actually do this around this time. So I was real stoked to get that started here a couple months ago. And I think I'm done with lessons for the year. This last week's been kind of hectic in terms of like cancellations and stuff due to like maintenance things. But it was a really good kind of day. I posted about it today. Like, this was like the last lesson. I thought maybe I'd have maybe a couple that I could do next week, but I guess it's just so busy because the last week of the year, they're basically closed. The school's closed, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
that
that's
makes
cool."
sense.
Christmas vacation into New Year's, whatever, and that's cool. And then so my instructor was like, "Well, we can't fly today, but let's start looking into January." And yeah, it was just I could have been super bummed out about it. The heck?
We got a
Holy
bunch of
crap!
gift subs just now. Thanks,
Yeah, I
Cat
was just
Spot.
looking at
Didn't
that
see
like
it.
I
Oh,
thought it was a bot at first. Is it really a bot?
Oh no, he's one of the local organizers from the Gilbert
yeah.
Oh,
area.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, we just got a bunch of gift subs on the stream here. Thanks, Gatsbot.
It's the
It's
season of
awesome.
giving. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, like I could have let that cancellation kind of bum me out today, but I was just like, my instructor came in, or we kind of just sat down and just started chatting about stuff. And I asked him about his Brazilian jiu-jitsu school that he goes to, and I saw his face kind of light up. And he was really happy because like he competes, and he was like, yeah, I just had a competition and I won gold. And he was like talking it up and like how he's kind of getting this kind of like local notoriety for certain like submissions that he's doing and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, it was just awesome to kind of like have him kind of open up about that and something personal and not be my instructor for once, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, it was a real good kind of change of pace day today. And then I went to this place to eat, and I know the owner of the place is a big Rams fan, and I'm always wearing my Rams stuff. And then it was actually the same thing he said to me the first time I went in there because he saw like at the back of my shirt. And he's like, "Nice shirt." And I turned around and I was just like, he recognized me. We had a good conversation, and then about the Rams and stuff. And then as I walked out, I saw this like older couple, right? And this guy, the older guy, the gentleman, he's wearing a suit. And I'm like, why is this guy dressed up on a Thursday? And like I look at the lady, she's kind of dressed up in some clothes that I would think that she would wear for church, right? And then he's like locking up their tricycles. There's like two tricycles next to each other. And I was just like looking at it. And of all the things to say, I just walked by and I was just like, oh, that's dope. And I was like, these two older people. And I was like, oh, that's dope. And then they're just like, oh, thank you. And like, they lock up their stuff and then they walk in. I go to my car and I'm like typing up this like whole social media thing about like how my day went or my morning went and like my cancellation. And I was like thinking about like, do I go back in there and talk to them, or is that kind of creepy or what, or should I even say anything, or do I just leave and this is just how my morning is? And this whole time I'm like sitting there, I couldn't figure out how I wanted to like end this social media post, and then they walk out, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just get the balls and get out of my car and just go talk to them and ask them why they're dressed up as there's a special occasion. And it was nothing. And they were just like, no, the lady was like, no, we just do this every day. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like, and then she's like kind of corrected herself. She's like, oh no, we don't dress up every day, but like I guess they go out and like ride their tricycles together and stuff.
Oh, that's
And I was like,
cool.
oh, that's cool. And then he's just like, yeah, we're dressed up because like every Thursday we go to church, and like I was that place is by the Mesa the Mormon temple that's over there.
Okay.
And yeah, he was pointing that out, and he's like, yeah, every Thursday we go to church and we come here to eat. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. And it's like, just I mean, the tricycles is what caught my eye, the main thing, and then just seeing them dressed up kind of threw me for a loop. And then I don't know, on a whim, I was just like, you guys mind if I take your picture? And then they were just like, oh no, that's fine. Like on the bike, on the trikes or off the or on the trikes, and I was like, oh, that's fine. And then like I went to take the first photo, and like the older lady was looking at him, and like I was just like, oh man, she's not looking at me. But then I realized like she was kind of just like gazing at him, and then she like puts her hand on his hand, and I was just like, oh man, that's so sweet. And then like I just got a picture of them, and I was just like, my whole morning was just fucking changed after that, and I was just like,
It sounds like
I
you
don't know,
made
just
their
really,
morning too, man.
yeah, I don't know, man, I don't know if they just thought I was a creep or what. It was, it was just like, I think they enjoyed just the fact that I like even like asked them about it, and they're just like, I mean, I don't know what it was. It was just something about the way this morning started. It was just like, yeah, I could have just been super bummed out about it because I was really looking forward to flying, and I didn't know like what my lessons were going to look like for next week or the end of the year. And it turns out that this is going to be likely the last one unless there's just some random opening.
I
But
gotcha.
I don't know. That was kind of a huge tangent to go on, but it's just something that kind of just like really hit me this morning, and I was just like, just those interactions that I had with those three people, and then
Sure.
the fact that it stemmed from like something that could have been like super negative, and it's just been really happy to kind of like start the flight training, and then just you know in one way it's like a really huge silver lining that I don't have lessons for like another 2 weeks because I got a lot of like other studying stuff that I need to catch up on. So it kind of gives me time to do that and not have to worry about like, hey, I got to go in and go fly.
Sure. I think that the story with the couple on the treks kind of summarizes a lot of like how I've been feeling about 2023 as a whole. Like if I had to really like pick a theme for the year, it feels like I harp about the pandemic probably more than what's healthy for a person, but
Mm,
like this was the year that I think I felt like the beginnings of returning to like a community kind of feel, and I feel like everyone else is
yeah,
getting back to that too, because like 2020 happened, obviously we were locked in. 2021 it was still kind of locked in, and but we were like shaky about it. In 2022 like we were all kind of reckoning with at what we had just went through, so even that didn't really feel the same. But now things I think are
yeah,
starting to get to be back to normal, as far as like how every concert is sold out and how every store is like packed, and like I feel
yeah,
like just in general people are starting to become more friendly with each other. Granted, like a lot of shit happened this year where I think a lot of people are angry with each other about stuff, but
yeah,
um by and large, like even for my own personal life, like I feel like I started a new job this year. I got married, and like I've started to the wedding in particular has helped us reconnect with a lot of our friends who we lost track of over the years.
mm,
And frankly, we all lost track of each other because we were forcibly separated from one another for a good
yeah,
year or so. So like people that had gradually fallen out of like my whatever echo chamber I built on social media, like I got a chance to reconnect with them over the course of this year, and the wedding
yeah,
kind of put that on steroids. And like it's been we've been getting having dinners with friends regularly. Like Benny, like you invited me to a couple of your dinners, and
mhm.
then Maynard, we've been getting to know each other a lot more this year too. I think a lot of that has to do with Street Fighter 6, the fact that
Yeah.
like
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
yeah, we're all kind of reuniting in a way. So
yeah,
it just feels like the community, and I'm not talking about the fighting game community here. I'm talking about like the emphasis on community and the human spirit. I think is happening. Like I'm seeing more of that in my day to day life. And
Yeah.
that that is 2023 to me, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, just real quick, like, if I had to look back and think about how, like, you were, like, earlier in the year and, like, before Street Fighter 6 came out, like, there was a lot of, like, kind of skepticism about, like, offline events and meeting up in person and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And, like, when Street Fighter 6 came out, like, yeah, you were like, "Oh, man, it looks like our scene is actually healthy and people do wanna come out, and, and we are doing these kind of things." And,
Yeah.
yeah, it's exactly like you said, like, there's been a kind of a opening up of the community as a whole, or just people. And, like, I mean, for me, like, personally, like, aside from the pilot stuff, that was the big thing that I wanted to start this year. The other thing that I've been just even since last year was just trying to meet up with people in person, like, as much as possible. And then, like, I had two people that were not super close to me, but just to my wife, that passed away. And, like, both of them were, like, super sudden, and those kind of just hit me in the way, just like, man, like, you just never know when somebody's gonna, the last time you're gonna see somebody, right? So that's been a big thing to me too. Like, I had a friend who was really good friends with at GoDaddy when I worked there. God, what was that, 6 years ago? And yeah, we were really good friends when we were working there, and then just haven't had time to, like, meet up for whatever reason, right? And then I found out that she does, like, crocheting stuff on the side, right? And I found out that she was doing, like, her first, like, market. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go surprise her and just show up. Like, I don't even care how big this market is. Like, I've never heard about it. Turns out it was just like a little, like, neighborhood local kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I told my kids about it. I was like, hey, we're gonna go see Boss. That's what I call her. That's what I've been calling her since I've known her. So we're gonna go see Boss and go surprise her. And, like, yeah, she was just, like, so excited to see me. She's just like, oh, you came. Like, I don't know if she just didn't expect anybody to show up for her or whatever. And part of it was just like, I hadn't seen you in years, so I was just like, you know what? This is, like, the least I could do. Like, we live in the same state. It's not like I'm, going super huge out of my way. It's like half an hour away. And just things like that, or just trying to meet up with other friends that, live whatever in the same state, and just interact with people, man.
Yeah, that's a really strong point in that, like, um everybody's like trying new things right now too, because again, the pandemic, I think, shocked us all into being like, maybe we should try to follow our dreams, because like, gives you
Yeah.
kind of an appreciation of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, because everybody's trying new things, now we have a bunch of people to support when they try new things, such as like how we've been talking about your pilot school on the show.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that we're doing this show at all, right? Like, people have kind of given us a lot of support over the past
Yeah.
year. And so, like, it's like that's the community side that I'm talking about. Like, everybody
Yeah.
benefits when we all start trying new things, and we just all suddenly felt the need to do that. Like, Maynard, I would even say, like you've taken a huge role in the community as a tournament organizer, and like kind of a backbone for Phoenix right now. And so, like, I would put that on something that I like. You're starting something new too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, just real quick, like, so the other thing with that friend that I visited, right? I
Oh yeah.
found out that her brother-in-law also wanted to start flight school, and of all things, he's planning to go to the same flight school that I'm going to. So I've
Oh
met him,
shit.
I know
Oh,
him, and
cool.
I was just like, yeah, I've met him and I know him, but just like, and I was just like, when I heard that, I was just like, wow, of all the things, like, what are the chances?
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah, we were talking about Maynard. Like, I was gonna kind of, like, transition over to like more like fighting game related stuff anyway, because I was kind of interested in, like, if you guys had any goals for 2023, and, like, when Street Fighter 6 came out, in terms of, like, whether it was gameplay related, or, I mean, your personal development, like, as a player, or in Maynard's case here, as like as a TO, or, like, your involvement in the scene in that sense. Was that something that was, like, kind of planned on your part, or did it just kind of, like, fall in your lap?
A little mix. I mean, I've always liked the TO aspect. One of my close friends, Dragon Ninja Ryu, he's been on the show before twice, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
twice.
he's always TOing for like the 3D scene, Dead or Alive, Tekken, Virtual Fighter. He did Soul Calibur also, and I can't think of some of the other 3D fighting games. And even though he was also TOing, he still played really well. For the longest time, he dominated the DOA scene. He was always top two, top three in Virtual Fighter. At one point, he was our best Virtual Fighter player. So,
Mhm.
like, it was something that, like, one, I wanted to 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 like help with, but two, I also wanted to like kind of get at his level too. Kind of inspired me to kind of like try to match him and try to be somewhere of his equal, like both in skill and in organizing. So
Hmm.
huge respect to him, someone I definitely look up to, and I'm trying for push more for it. Street Fighter 6 is definitely really huge this year. I'm helping out with both the Phoenix, like the gaming zone, and helping out with Tucson, and with both the streaming setup and having like a quality like gaming system as well. Like I thought about doing that like costume thing, so that was one thing that I thought was unique to the situation. And costumes aside, being the price that they
Do
are,
you want to explain what the costume thing is for our
yeah,
listeners?
sure. So the costumes are hella expensive, as we all know and talked about. It
Yeah,
unfortunately kind of does suck in some cases,
yeah,
but there are good costumes. They look great. A lot of people want to use them or play with them.
yeah,
Um, and I think one of the big bummers in streaming right now is that a lot of systems, a lot of streams that play Street Fighter 6, they just use the first two costumes. It kind of
yeah,
sucks.
yeah,
So um, I decided like, hey, due to the price, like let's all kind of just pitch in. So I kind of have my account as our main hub for our tournament setups. So both for the Tucson Police Station and Phoenix Gaming Zone, the gaming zone, where whatever you want to pitch in, like pitch in $5 or something and send it to me. I'll buy the costumes, give a big shout out, and hey, we're gonna use that. We're gonna play it, use those costumes for play. So we're
yeah.
not gonna see the boring two colors. We're not gonna always see the red and purple Ken, or just boring black and maroon Marissa. So
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a great way for you to kind of reach out to the community too, because like I didn't see that initially, and then when I saw you say, "Hey, if you'd like to donate and blah blah blah, add I'll buy the costumes," I was just like, "This is a great way for people to one to like contribute to the community other than being as a player," which I think some people want to do, but maybe sometimes just don't feel like they know where to kind of put their resources or their money,
yeah,
and then it benefits everybody else, right? It's just like, hey, like you said, tired of looking at costume one for Ken or whatever these colors are, and like or I want to wear homeless Dawson's costume, and instead of seeing him kind of half naked, you know what I mean? So it's just like, so I thought that was a great thing when I saw that. I ended up, yeah, I think I gave you what I like. I looked at my Venmo account. I was like, you know what, you can have this money, and I was just like,
yeah. You
it's
bought
like.
Dalsum and Zangief, I believe, in
Yeah,
there.
I didn't even know I had money in that Venmo account. I was like, I wonder if I have anything in there. And I was like, oh, this is going straight to costume.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Honorable mentioned that in the chat. We he pitched in for the Blanca costume. So
Oh.
Oh, just so Tony can have it.
and
Oh
Tony
man.
hates it. So
I mean, if
we're
you're a
gonna even
Blanca
see if it's
player,
gonna
you
be
hate it.
used.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's cool though, man. It's just like I thought that was an awesome way to kind of like involve the community. And I mean, at the same time, like you said, like it's not, one of the things about being a TO is like, there's a lot of expenses that people don't realize, whether you're contributing games, if you're involved in the scene and like providing setups, that kind of stuff. So thankfully, like that's not really a huge concern from what I see. But I mean, the costumes is definitely, that's a big cost. All of them together is like close to what, $100 or something like that. So it's
Something
just like,
around
hey,
there. It's scary.
yeah. So that I mean that was just awesome to see, because like I just saw all the other people kind of supporting. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a little bit of my for myself too.
Yep. And it's cool because like we did do TOing before, me and Benny. We did Tetris. We've
Oh yeah,
done
that's right.
both the what is it, the Tetris 99 and the Puyo Puyo Tetris. We
Mhm.
tried the puzzle games. I also did Windjammers as well, but I never got to the point where I was like streaming it. So it's kind of nice to
Mhm.
have the production side of it. And big shout outs to you, John. You helped me a lot with the audio, and it's a massive
Oh yeah.
difference coming from like just a Yeti where you can hear literally everything to just
That's a
hearing the
podcaster life.
commentators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely, we still want to step up the things, and I gotta also shout out Godsaw. He also helped me out, and we were trying to get the audio interface, and we moved on to, get your interface worked out much better. It worked for the situation, and I think Godsaw is gonna help out and try to pitch in like headsets and such. So hopefully we
Nice.
could level up the setup and get a better production. So that way it's easier to watch back, and everything's running
Yeah.
smoothly for both us and just for anyone that just wants entertainment to watch matches.
Yeah, tune in. Yeah, scout the AZ scene. We're coming for you guys.
I feel like
Oh man.
probably the next step is to get a mixer for that audio interface, and for the microphones and the headsets that folks will provide. Just a funny what's it called? A funny anecdote about those microphones is those are the microphones that David Shu gave me when I first started Spiral Series and running tournaments there. So like
Ah.
the microphones are older than I think than some of the kids in the community. And,
They're
when
like,
I say older, I mean like they were actually used for tournaments back then too. Like
yeah,
it's the
they're
equivalent of like an arcade cab or something.
they're like community heirlooms. They're just gonna get passed
Yeah,
down. Like,
that's a
man,
good way
where
to
are
put it.
these?
Heirlooms. Yeah.
Yeah. 20
I mean,
years
it
from
still
now, they'll be like,
works.
where are these from? But it's like, oh, these are from the 2000s. Like, what the? Oh man, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's great. I thought those were the like I thought those were the like karaoke or some microphones, but that's tight that they've been in the
Well, they
FGC
are.
forever.
They're
Oh my
both.
gosh.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
both. They're the karaoke microphones. But like I stopped after I stopped running tournaments. I turned them into the karaoke microphones.
That's great. These are just legacy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so one more thing I wanted to touch on in terms of like the fight, since we're still on the fighting game stuff, was this like I think with Street Fighter 6 we all kind of expected this game to kind of do well. I mean, just based off the beta impressions and stuff like that. And I think, overall, like the community has accepted it, other than, the typical discourse you'd hear on social media here and there.
Street Fighter 4
For those of
players.
us that are still on Twitter or whatever. But how did you guys like? So, what did you guys think of the scene? I guess to start, and then kind of looking into 2024, because like we've kind of touched on this in the Discord, in the Spiral Series Discord, and I thought you brought up a good point because like John, because I was thinking like the rarity of events, because typically we'd have ran bets, right? And for those that don't know, ran bets are like bi-weekly ranking battles that we do where you accumulate points and then we'd have a winner at the end. And a lot of times like those would start out well and then it would kind of taper off as like people kind of separated themselves from the rest in terms of like points and stuff, right? Like, well, I don't have a chance to reach into this area anymore, or to take over. So things would kind of taper off. And I thought with the like monthly scenes and or the monthly events like that Tucson's doing, or that were the gaming zone's doing, that might have led to more people kind of coming out. But it's kind of been a mix of both. And you mentioned like kind of like pockets of little communities here and there that are doing things regularly to the point to where people are going to those locals enough that they don't really feel, I guess, necessarily the need to go to like a lot of the other events.
Yeah. Yep. It's I build that as a bug and not a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
But I think that it's like we always there's always an effort to, I think, consolidate the community under one roof.
Hmm.
And I've been through at least 3 cycles of that. I was actually part of one of those cycles, or I was the main person behind one of those cycles, and then I was also like tournament staff and helping out for a previous cycle. And each time we tried to unite the scene under one roof, like there's always a chance that people get left behind. And like I'm not even talking about like competitively. I'm talking about like we centered in Levine, Arizona for a long time when the team hazmat days. And so if you were in Gilbert, get fucked. Or if like you were in North Scottsdale, like you couldn't go, really. It wasn't. And then the problem is that if everyone's playing out there and everyone is everyone, like the people that have to make that drive out there are just naturally going to not feel compelled to do it.
Yeah.
And then like so everyone's like, well, it's because it was Levine. It was in buttfuck nowhere at the time. But like then we went to TGC in Tempe, which is like the heart of the college town, and it worked better, I think, that a lot more people had access to it. But like the west side got screwed hard. They couldn't make it to Tempe regularly, and I saw what happened is that the group that played out in the west side, they just weren't part of the fighting game community anymore. Like they didn't come out to any events, and I didn't hear from them for years.
Yeah.
Obviously they were friends and stuff and they still hung out, but like the fighting, the Street Fighter side of it, the Capcom side of it, at least, I didn't see them very much at all. And so like it's I think it's actually better to have a distributed set of tournaments and pockets of scenes, like you mentioned earlier, because it allows for that like rival arcade feel, and it allows for
Yeah.
like a level of organic community driven stuff. You have leaders that are naturally growing, as opposed to like, hey, I have one spot at TGZ and Steve Gannon is the lead, or Muji is the lead, or Maynard is the lead, right? And then
Hmm.
suddenly there's no room for anybody else to want to help, and people don't feel as compelled to help and as be a part of the community. I think it just becomes more of like
Yeah.
one dude's show. um, and
Yeah.
I, I think that what we have now, as far as like sister scenes, like people, I think people are trying to
Yeah.
solve a problem, being like, hey, how come no one's at every single tournament in the
Yeah.
valley? And I don't think that's a problem we should be trying to solve.
Yeah. That's a big way to put it too. Because I mean, from me helping out with various things here and there in the years, like one thing that I always mention to people is just like, whether it was like dead games, like, your game's not dead if you want to play it and there's a community for it and that kind of thing, right? You look at Dragon Ninja and what he's established with Z Axis, right? Like that's something that he decided to take on for himself for his passion for the games that he played and he was interested in, right? And he helped cultivate and grow that to what it is now. And it's just like same thing with like, whether it's the regional stuff, right? If there's not something happening on the west side, it's just like, well, what's stopping you from doing something yourself? And like, I'm more than happy to like talk to people about, struggles and what you need to be looking for in terms of like running events if people are interested in that. And it's nice to see, like you said, to see that. Ninja Nam in the chat here mentioned that the west side had Arnold and Juan as hosters.
Yeah,
And yeah, I remember going to one that was Anomaly Arcade Sticks. Was that
yeah, yeah.
the name he went by? Yeah, I remember going to his house one time because I ended up staying, or I ended up he was in an apartment complex. I had to stay super long because my car got towed when I tried to leave, and my car was gone. And I was
Oh,
just like,
I was there when that happened. I remember that. I was like,
yeah,
man, that sucks, man.
yeah. I ended up hanging out
Yeah,
with Mikey for you, Kevin, who we had on the show before, and his brother that morning because like I was like, well, let me look up when this tow yard or this junkyard or whatever opens up because I got to go fetch my car. And they're like, well, we'll go hang out with you until it opens. So that's
yeah.
like my one memory of that. It's like going to that thing and like having a good time, and it's like, all right, guys, time to go. And then walking out into the apartment parking lot and be like, wait, where's my car? Like, oh shit. I was like,
Yeah.
so man, that just thanks for bringing up that PTSD for me, Dom. It's good times though, man. It's good times.
But yeah, I
Uh,
think there's value in sharing the community.
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, it
There is
doesn't
for sure.
feel as much like a community, you know?
Yeah, and then there's also like because I think what also prompted this was like Saber was asking about somebody that we had seen he had seen online that had the Arizona FGC Club in their Street Fighter name, and I've ran into that Aki player too. I think it's Blaze Death Blade,
Yeah,
and like
I've run into them too.
yeah. So there's that kind of segment of people out there too that maybe we don't know about, and maybe they're just content at being home, and who knows if we'll ever run into them anywhere. So
I mean, what's cool is that every generation of Street Fighter that I've been a part of, there's always those people, and then there are people that have converted. Like Moss was
yeah.
somebody, Moss
Oh yeah,
HD.
for sure.
He was an online warrior for Street Fighter 4. Latif as well. The probably the best example is Latif, but Moss and Mocha Latte and Frenchie. Like
Mhm.
they were online players for the vast majority of Street Fighter 4, and then they only started coming out to the competitive community late in the game's lifespan, and they destroyed a lot of people in that game.
Yeah.
And then in 5, you had I would say Akita was an online warrior at the end of the life cycle there.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think of who else was there. Were a couple like really strong online only players. I think there was a guy's name. His name was Abnormal Fetus. He was from Arizona as well. There's a Chun Li player that was an EMT that I met through my stream, and he never came out to any locals, but he was in Arizona regularly. Like
Yeah.
it's there every generation, um,
Yeah.
and like now there's more opportunity than ever. I think.
Yeah. I mean, like I talk about the kind of the size of the size of Phoenix in general as a city is like we're like top 5 in population. Like years ago they surpassed like Philadelphia as number 5, and they've been sitting at 5, and it's like that's a lot of people to be here. I don't know what the number is, right? But to be top 5 in the US in terms of like population,
Mhm.
that's a huge thing, right? In terms of the population of the city and like the potential like pool of players that we have. And I remember at the latest Game On Expo earlier this year, Maynard was big on trying to like talk to people about like the community that we had and the Discord, and trying to introduce people to that side of the scene, because there was a ton of people there. That was like 100 plus bracket tournament, and it's just like there's all these people playing this game, and granted, not everybody's gonna want to get like competitive and playing tournaments and stuff like that, but like there was a vast majority of people that joined the tournament that we had no clue about, and people were just interested in playing the game.
Yeah, I think that happens every time a new Street Fighter comes out, in particular, where you just get that influx of new people. There's always that con tournament where like it's a joy for us competitive players to realize like how far where we stack up against the average person in these games. But
Yeah,
then it's also like, holy shit, as you said, there's so many people playing right now.
yeah.
I remember when Street Fighter V came out, even though that game was poorly received, there was a cabinet at Cobra Arcade in like the outside area, and I got on there and I didn't get off after for the entire night. My friends all went like dancing and playing other games, and it was like 2 hours. And then they eventually they had to like tell me to stop so that way they could leave, and I was like, that was a hell of humble brag that I just did right now. That was great. I kicked everyone's ass that day. It was awesome. Kicked everyone's ass.
Hey, Maynard, was there I don't recall, like, were there any people in particular that like that, I guess, kind of you converted? I mean, it's kind of weird to say that. It's almost like a
Yeah, we're
religion.
out. Yeah, we're a cult now, man.
Did you convert them into the FGC cult, bro? Like, did you get them on our side?
Yeah, honestly, like I can't remember who was their first time going and who's been around. Like, oh man, I can't even think of names right now. I'm
Yeah.
really bad at names, but there's a few people that I see in the friends list that, or not the friends list, the online list that
Mm,
was at the venue. Well, they're not online right now, so I'm looking for them again. But I've seen a few that have jumped on. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them since, but I did see them like pop around
yeah.
every once in a while, very very rarely. So, uh,
Okay.
not sure if they're just hanging out, but definitely would like to try again and get some more people. There's more people that I've gotten at TGZ where it's like a random Friday or a random Secret Labs that I was like, I've
Ah,
never seen them before, and they're like, hey, I'm interested. And we
yeah.
got them there to like, hey, come out more, come play, and at least join the discussion.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always been kind of intrigued by some of the random people that I run into at tournaments, because like even since I've been competing since '09 in Alaska, like there's always those like people that I don't know, and then if they go O2, like, or even if they do well, sometimes like you don't see them again. And like I always wonder, like, well, did you just kind of want to like test your metal, and then maybe things didn't go as well as you hoped, and you're just like, you know what, this isn't cut out for me, or what happened to those people?
We talked about that at a previous episode, and this is a good segue because I wanted to talk about this last episode too.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember you brought that up, and I was like, it's because they're scared to lose, Benny, and some people
Yeah.
can't handle losing. And I listened to that episode, and I sounded like such a smug asshole, and so I really wanted to to couch that a little bit on this episode and be like, I wasn't really looking to. I think I was a little too judgmental because like everybody's
Yeah.
got different life experiences and life circumstances that might prevent them from coming out to play again. Like we just got done talking about all these reasons why we stop playing other video games, right? And why the
Yeah.
backlog gets so big, right? And
Yep.
for all we know, that could have happened there. And it does. I didn't have to like psychoanalyze people and be like, it's because you can't cope with loss. That's not
Yeah, John.
necessarily.
He might have had a newborn baby, John. Come on, he might be. He's like, screw that Porter John guy. I was like, I'm over here waking up at 3 in the morning feeding my kid.
Yep.
Defend
Yeah,
your title,
exactly.
damn it.
So I apologize if the Porta John was shitty in that particular instance. Not intending to do that. We're like at the end of the day, we wanted to like celebrate these games, and like the joy of the competition is really that like you might run into somebody like that Blaze Aki player who I also ran into and I beat, by the way. And I
Yeah.
remember when I beat them, No, actually, no. When I got matched up with them and I saw Arizona FGC, like my butthole puckered a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in right. Like this is gonna be. I gotta defend the absolute guard right now and show that we are the real Arizona. Like that extra bit of like dose of competitiveness is healthy, I think, and
Yeah,
it's
it
important that
is.
we have rivalries that are. They don't necessarily have to be region specific, but it is
Yeah,
important to like have pockets, I think, and allow people to have that continuous like I can just go and play a bunch of new people. Like I think Christian and Tony and company have been going to the Glendale Community College or not Glen
like
GCU Grand
the
Canyon
GCU.
University Grand Canyon University their tournaments and and then the tournaments for UDLR up in the west side too. Like there's other avenues here that and like Gilbert started up events again too recently, and then the events that you were
Hmm.
throwing out in Gilbert too, Benny. Like, I think it's good that we have coverage around the entire state. It's gas is
Yeah.
expensive.
That
I
is
believe
true.
Mesa also started up one too.
Oh,
I
really?
know they're having one the last Saturday this month, and they were wanting
Nice.
me to help with the stream on that. So
Hmm.
it was shoot,
I don't know if I can come
Ian
out.
Man.
Ian Flux.
Yeah, I don't know if
Oh
I can
yeah.
come out Saturdays, but I'm gonna. I think I need to start going out to stuff like that because you mentioned like the GCU one, and like I've been intrigued to kind of go out because like the first month or so that I was going, I was able, that the tournaments that I went to, like I didn't do well. I wasn't a really a good player at the time, and I feel like a lot of that's changed. So I think it's time
Ooh,
for me to kind of
big
like
words.
I think it's time for me to kind of step out there and be like, oh, it doesn't look like there's anybody that plays Dulcim over here. I was like, let me show you guys what's up.
Yeah, Benny's gonna show him and put his yoga dick on the table, and
Yeah,
the
and then I'm
yoga
just not
dick is
gonna.
long.
I'm never gonna show back up. I'm gonna go to GCU and like just beat everybody and be like, "Hey, what happened to that one guy?" It's just like, nah.
They're gonna one and done you on the tournament. You're gonna win one round
Yeah,
and then they're gonna leave.
it's like it's only 1-0. It's just like, oh, did you want to keep playing?
That is the other benefit of like it not all being under one roof is that schedules often don't align. And so like if Ranbats were the de
Yeah,
facto these are the only tournaments in Arizona and you couldn't make the Ranbats, get fucked. Don't be part of the fighting game community, right? But
yep.
if there's other organizers out there offering alternative locations and times, the community grows, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say there was that one tournament you held on. I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And I think that was a really
It was
cool
on a,
one
it was on a
because
Monday. It was on a
it was
Monday.
a Monday. I
I
don't
think it was. Yeah,
remember.
it was on a
It was
Monday
a
because
weekday.
I had Sunday Mondays of all things at that time, and I was like, you
Yeah,
know what? Let's do this Monday night.
I was gonna say that was great coverage in the sense that like we had. I want to say like I'm gonna throw a percentage out there, but like I felt like 30% of players that don't usually come out.
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't want to call them out, but like it was cool to like see them and actually play with them in person.
Scott,
And
Yeah.
I'm calling out Scott. I know you're listening, Scott.
but it was actually
Yeah.
cool to still see them and like be able to play with them in person and in that competitive environment compared to
Yeah.
just having them in the battle hub or in the lobby.
Yeah, or Friday casuals at the gaming zone and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely it was good to see them. Yeah, unfortunately my days off to change, so I got Thursday, Fridays now, and we do this stuff on Thursdays. So I was actually thinking about that actually the other day, talking to my wife about it, and I was like, should I try to do weekly tournaments again, or not weekly, monthly tournaments again? And I was just like, well, do we do it on Thursday? And I was like, wait, that's podcast day. And I was like, but I don't want to do it on Friday because that's when like our friends and stuff want to go do stuff. So I'm like, so now I'm like kind of in a mix here. Like I don't know what to do.
The
Oh man.
podcast might be the extent of our your involvement in the community at this point. If you got all these things, your other things you're juggling, you know.
Hey,
Uh,
you can make it a live stream and that would be part of the podcast. Just commentate the
This is the Absolute Guard podcast post game interviews. Hey, you just lost. How are you feeling right now? Like, oh shit.
you're about to go into this match and it's like I gotta win this one. It's like, of course you gotta win.
I'm gonna have to get dressed up and have like the mic and stuff. Just walk up to them.
for real though,
Oh
this
man,
podcast is basically how I rationalize giving back to the community. Like
yeah,
I take from it a lot because I'm a player and I want to play all the best people and have fun and
yeah.
stuff. But then I also give back in the form of this show. But I'm not giving back and being a TO again because you guys got it covered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, with my changing days off, I don't know if I have the time to go do that. But yeah, this podcast has been really good to just kind of talk to people about stuff, and then the Discord's been really good for me too. Like I think in terms of like kind of introducing me to some of the players that I haven't even personally met yet.
Hmm.
So that's been a kind of a good thing for me on the side too. Is because normally like I would have just been at home just playing, and maybe in our group chats on the side, Maynard might hit me up and be like, "Hey, you want to play some games?" And that might be it. But the Discord's been really good for kind of cultivating, kind of like the online community too, in terms of like people wanting to find sets and stuff like that. Because like
Yeah.
you know every other day somebody will post, "Hey, you want to run a first to 10?" Like, I hadn't played Big Mac since the tournament and he beat me, and like I in some ways I was almost a little intimidated to play him because I didn't feel like I was there yet. And then like one day I was just like, you know what, let's go. And we had really close sets, and I was just like, all right, I'm getting there, and like now I'm looking for those kind of those games and sets now.
That's another like Chase is makes me think about something I wanted to talk about too, where we talk about the communities, the state of the community in terms of a lot of it's from the lens of launch. So like when it
Mhm.
exploded and all these tournaments are everywhere and stuff. And realistically, we are a good 6 months in now, and so the
Yeah.
community I think has at the very least I think a lot of the super casual players have dropped the game by now. But
Mhm.
on the flip side, the players that are like the most promising have started to really surface to the top. And when I say promising, I'm not just talking about skill and level of like competitive, but like there are folks that I think that are actively supporting the community in ways that I haven't seen because of the way Street Fighter Five community was. Um,
Mhm.
like Chase is a great example. Christian is another good example. Big Mac and Sia, like they have not only taken, I think they've taken the reins as Kings of Phoenix right now. They also they're the ones in the Spiral Series Discord constantly asking for sets from people, and so they're
Mhm.
helping grow the community that way too. And I see them as the next generation, like because that's the other side of this is we're not getting any younger either. We're you could argue that we're actually outside of the main demographic for fighting games now. I'm in my mid 30s and you're in your early 40s, Benny.
Yeah.
And Maynard, I think you're the same age as I am. So like, I just doxed all you guys too. That's too high level. Uh, but like, so like I've been thinking a lot about like not necessarily legacy because I guess in the theme of like how the pandemic kind of recontextualized everyone's lives and stuff. Like I know I'm not going to be doing this forever, and
Yeah.
for a long time it's like who's going to be next. And i I find actually more comfort in less so passing torches and more about seeing multiple people in the community rise to leadership positions or rise to like the occasion to support each other. And
Yeah.
I ranging from somebody like Freezy, who's a 14-year-old kid and juggling school all the
15,
time, right?
15. He had his birthday
15,
recently.
my bad,
15.
15 years. Or like Christian and Chase who work day jobs and they run sets with other people on their lunch breaks, and it's
Yeah.
like there's different decades that are represented there that I think that I'm really
Yeah.
comfortable leaving the community to after all this is said and done.
Yeah, kind of like yeah. I mean, you look at just the three of us here, right? Like all completely different stages of life. Like I got grown kids.
Yeah,
You guys don't have any kids. You just married. Like,
yeah,
I see myself almost in a sense like how I see some of like the other older players in the scene now. Whereas like I'll be that person that like just randomly shows up one day and they're just like, oh shit, Benny's here. And like I might just show up to one of like the secret lab tournaments or something, and then people are just like, "Who the hell's that?"
yep.
So that's kind of like how I see myself. Like, I don't know if I can do those kind of things regularly, but like, occasionally I might come out.
I get you. I I think because when this game launched, I one thing I talked about for this year was like kind of my emotional state. And
Mhm.
but I performed probably the best I ever have in a competition this year. Like I think I placed the
Yeah,
highest at an Evo that I ever have.
yeah,
And I think I placed the highest in everybody in our state. Uh,
yeah. Pretty sure
and
you did. Yeah.
that coupled with the DTN top eight and whatnot, like I was thinking really hard out of the like when the game launched, because it was a big milestone, because I'm like, how hard do I want to go in on this? And
Yeah.
like with all the poring over the beta footage and doing the research on the game, like on that end too, I'm just like, you know, is this my motorcycle? That's what was going through my head, because like I turned 35 that year, or I turned 35 36 this year. I turned 35 last year, And I'm officially middle aged now, and I'm like, oh, like, am I just trying to relive my glory days from my childhood that I never really accomplished? Like in my 20s, I never placed high in tournaments ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in Marvel I did, but even then, like if I could go
Yeah.
back in time and
You played Zero
replay
though,
Street
so it's
Fighter
like
4. Yeah, I did play Zero. Yeah, yeah. I didn't really play that. I didn't really play Marvel. I played Zero. Who was the Honda of Marvel, by the way.
Oh god, don't even go there.
but like I thought like maybe this is my motorcycle and this is me trying to capture those glory days, because it was a lot of like trying to like to get personal. Like I had a huge mental breakdown last year. I quit my job. I was really rethinking about like what my life goals were in the midst of like planning a wedding and everything too, which is not the best for environment from my fiance at the time. So shout outs to Jess, who has been on the show, for putting up with all that and helping me through that rough time in my life. And so like I found a lot of strength in revisiting the things that I enjoyed as a kid, or the things that I chose for myself that I really valued. And so this fighting is one of them. And I worried that I was like just overdosing on nostalgia and like that, that guy, that high school, that high school football player that talks about that game, that one game
Yeah.
from their high school all those years ago that would have, like, if they had gone differently, they would be in the NFL by now, and
Yeah.
they're always living that fantasy over again. I thought I was that guy.
It's Al Bundy. It's Al Bundy.
Yeah, Al
playing
Bundy.
the-
Al Bundy. Yeah,
Yeah.
Al Bundy.
That's the
But I don't know. It's since then. Now that I've hit some of those milestones, as far as like
real
getting
quick. Do you
top
guys
8 at a
think you think
major.
Freezy knows who Al Bundy is?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Married with
we
Children.
always give Freezy shit about being so young. And like, for those that don't know, the origin of my gamer tag actually comes from that show, because the son in that show, Bud Bundy, he had basically got through kind of like this identity crisis, and he was going through all these little personas. And at one point, he was a rapper, and he called himself Grandmaster B. And so I just ran with it one day, because I was like, hey, my name starts with a B. And I was like, I thought, that was my favorite show to watch as a kid. And I was just like, this is going to be my tag. Oh, you don't
I
know
thought
him?
it was
Oh,
from
man.
like hip hop or something.
No.
You got it from fucking Married with Children.
Yeah, exactly. That was my favorite show. I used to watch it all the time with my dad and my sister. And it's from his alter ego, or one of his personas or whatever on the show. And I just ran with it, and then eventually added the AK to it just to kind of differentiate myself, because there's somebody on Twitter that's had the Grandmaster B tag that I could never get from them, that's had the grandmasterb.com website that I could never get from them. So I was like, you know what? I'll be AK Grandmaster B. So that's where that came from. But yeah, yeah, it's funny. I don't know. It popped in my head when you mentioned when you were talking about high school football, because that's this whole thing, right? It's like I scored 4 touchdowns in a football game one time, and blah blah blah. Oh man, that's great.
Another thing is, apparently I married into a family that's based out of Peoria, Illinois. Like Jess has a lot of family out there, and so we were watching a lot of Bears games. And I didn't know the Bears and the Rams have a rivalry, so I think I've married into a rivalry against you, Benny.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no.
no,
If I
I don't know if
understand how sports work.
nah, they don't have as big of a. I wouldn't say they really have a rivalry. There's other teams that they got much bigger rivalry with. So
Okay, fair enough.
yeah,
Fair enough.
but yeah,
Then
Chicago.
we can keep doing the show then, I guess.
Yeah, Chicago.
And he just called your team trash. That's what he did.
Chicago sports fans. I mean, yeah, it's pretty passionate people. Like they're pretty. I know a few of them too. Like yeah, so, but that's cool. It's just, I don't know, man. It just, I was trying to transition over to, because I wanted to talk to Maynard about. We're talking about like the FGC stuff, right? And
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about like the kind of like the personal kind of goals that you guys had for yourselves in the FGC, and you were just talking about that yourself. And
Mhm.
one thing in particular with Maynard, like right off the bat, like I've spoke about kind of my journey with this game. It was pretty rough to start, right? I was in fucking silver with Dawson. I wasn't feeling good about anything. Everybody was walking through me, and I was just like, man, I'm trash at this game. But on the other side, Maynard kind of came into this game and was like doing great. I mean, not that he's not doing good or great now, but it's just like he kind of came out the gates doing great with Marisa. And from what I've seen, kind of just been like a sponge with the knowledge and stuff that he's from the games in the past, right? Like from Street Fighter 5, I remember him being in like the lower levels of the boot camp, and like there was a moment one time where like I was coaching him in that, and like I helped him like win like a promotion match or something, and then to kind of see him kind of come into his own to start this game, I was just like, holy shit, he's like arrived, right? And like he's like kicking people's asses, and just like I remember like he would you would show him tech, or there'd be like safe jumps, and all of a sudden like I see these new things like develop in his game, like when I play him, because like we'd be playing close one game, and the next thing I know, I'm getting hit by like some weird meaties, and I was like, oh, this is some new shit that he just learned. Like I got to figure out how to deal with this. And sure enough, that's exactly kind of what I've seen from him, and like from what I've talked to with other people in the scene too.
You're talking about that wall splat air reset into command grab bullshit that he does, right?
No, not that one. He hit me with that, and I was yeah, he hit me with that. But there was also I think it was the overhead, the drive rush overhead, or something like that.
Oh man, I got tagged by that so much. Good shit, Maynard.
He also, one of my favorites is the Twitter where you do the wall splat over, cross over, and a cross under.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. And then you cross over, cross under into a command grab because everyone's like, "How do I block this?" You don't.
So go ahead, Maynard. Like, just touch on that in terms of like talk about kind of like your personal. Did you have any kind of personal goals like when you started out in this game, or like how has that been progressing for you like through this year?
I think the first goal that I made coming into Street Fighter was getting out of pools in Evo, and it was great because like I'm wondering how challenging it is compared to other Evos, because this was the biggest Evo ever. So it was nice in the sense that there was a lot of players. I think the big thing that crosses my mind during my polls was that I had Big Bird in my bracket, and we met at winners finals, and it was great to play him. Like I shook his hand, took a picture with him, and as the match was going, like I'm straight focused, and I could just hear all these from secondhand, actually from John and from some other people. But I was hitting him with his own tech, with his own Twitter comment video. Yeah, and it's great. And the thing that I pulled most from the story was John was like talking about how Angry Bird was pissed. You're just like, why are you getting hit with this? This is your stuff. And I wish like my headset wasn't on because I would love to hear it, but I probably would have cracked and I probably wouldn't have been playing the game that I was playing. But
Yeah.
it was that's probably like the biggest thing that I pull from Evo and that memory. But
Yeah.
I did hit the goal. I did make it out of the pools, and I think that's one of my first big things in majors. And I'd say one of the biggest in majors was talking more about the history was in DOA 6. It was a tournament. I want to say it was Frosty, no, it wasn't Frosty, but it was a tournament in the Philadelphia area, and it was a 32-person bracket for DOA. It's not that big, but I don't know. It was more than that. It was 64. It was 64 players, and I was able to hit top 8 on that on the loser side, and that felt great. That was my first top 8 having to play like on a stage, and it was terrifying. The first match was actually a team kill match. I had to fight Dragon Ninja.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And, and he just immediately got in my head, picking like the worst matchup I had, like highlighting the worst matchup. He didn't even play it. And in my mind, I'm like, fuck you. Like he knows this inside and out, and then he picked something else, and it threw me for a loop. And I was like, man, I lost on character select because I just got in my own head. This is terrible. And being able to not have that situation happen again, like there's times where like I still think about it, but I don't get as taunted about or like
tilted.
I'm not intimidated about it. I'm not beating myself up in character select. And I think that does feel good. I do feel like I've grown a lot as a player since like Street Fighter 5 when you coached me, and going into DOA 5, DOA 6, and playing it now. So I'm really happy that I hit that, and I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next one. Like I do want to focus more on TOing, but I still want to improve as a player. So depending on how many players show up, maybe I could make it out of 2 pools or 3 pools. That would be the next goal.
Oh, okay, nice. Did
Because you
getting
made it
out
out
of
in
the
losers that
pools?
year, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
at Evo.
Yeah, I got out of
that,
losers. It was the Big Bird match, and then after I lost that,
yeah,
it pushed me
yeah. Because
into
he
the
wasn't beating
losers.
Big Bird. Come on, bro. I'm just...
It was close. I got him. The fact that he tweeted about it is what really cheers me up. That's what gets my head blowing up.
yeah,
Was
yeah,
like I played my last match against another Marissa player. He had me sweating, and I'm like, "Hey,
yeah,
Big Bird, thanks for the match."
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's I don't see it as self-serving as some people might see that. It's it's validation in the sense, right? For like the work that you put in to have somebody of that stature be like, man, this guy had me, he had me thinking about stuff. That's high praise coming from a top player like that. So that's awesome. I was just gonna ask real quick, like, did getting out of pools at Evo and kind of accomplishing that goal, did that kind of serve as like a catalyst or motivation for you to want to get better and go from there?
I think it did. The people that I lost to, the person I lost to next was a Ryu player, and coming from the state of Ryu's of Dragon Ninja, Sia, and Big Mac, I'm
Native
just
Wolf?
like,
Yeah.
oh
Native
well.
Wolf
At
too.
the time, I didn't know
Oh
Native
yeah.
Wolf, but at the time, I'm just like, oh, I need to learn this matchup. Like, I have the Trinity of Ryu's in my hand, and I
Yeah.
need to fight this. And yeah, it definitely pushed me to get better, to learn how to fight, and like the projectile's still a rough thing for me and Marissa, but
Yeah.
like I have learned about it and I've started being able to give pressure. And like every time I see Sia in a tournament bracket, like he's always switching characters and he's like, "Oh, you had me on the ropes there," and that makes me feel good that that's happening. I just need
Yeah.
to find a way to close it now. I need
Yeah.
a That's the next goal as far as a
Yeah.
local goes.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, like, yeah, like, I think I mentioned that in the Discord a couple times. It's just like, yeah, when you get those little kind of those wins here and there, like, right, you might not win the set, right? But if somebody's been beating you 0-2 or beating you, being dominant against you, right? Like, for me, like, that's John, literally. Like, I haven't been able to touch Chun Li in God since his game came out. And then like I won like my first game like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Hey, I got a game out of like 25." Like, cool. Like, that's progress, right? I mean, I'm still getting my ass whipped, but it's okay. And then like we played sets, I think was it last week, and like I went 0-20 against his Chad, and I was just like, "Fuck this character, man. Whatever." Then he switches to Honda, and I'm just like, "Oh, you want to play Honda?" I was just like, I'm getting some games now, right?" And I think I won like 7, and I was just
Yeah,
like, that's not even his like main, but like that character gives me a fucking headache. And I was just like, okay, I got 7 off of that. And then I almost beat his freaking Ken,
yeah.
and
Which 1 month in, it was. I don't think I lost a game to you with Ken, and then now
yeah,
you can beat Ken. Like I can't play Ken against you anymore. So like it's
yeah,
like it's the progress is clearly there, man. And because the
yeah,
other side of it is like I'm still getting better too along the way. So it's not just
yeah,
that like you were better than like you've gotten better to beat me in the past. Like you're getting better to beat me in the present right now. So
yeah.
my Ken and my Honda can't really cut it against your sim anymore.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're not gonna let that happen. It's no secondary picks in tournament, no sandbagging, John.
I'm learning jury now too, so
Oh
Oh
God!
no.
No, just don't
you
pick up
guys haven't
Cammy, and we'll
seen
be
that yet.
good. We'll pick up Cammy. I think the podcast is gonna be over. He's gonna jab spiral arrow me. I was like, this isn't supposed to work, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
It's Jab Spiral series.
Yeah, all right. So we talked about where we wanted like where we got to this year. Let's talk about what we want to do next year then. Like I Benny, you've kind of alluded to it a little bit right now, is that like it's not the highest priority, I think, that you won't be at every event, but like do you have a general idea for like a rank or like a tournament placing or something that you're looking to do?
Well, if I don't get it by the end of this year, I'm trying to hit 1800 MR. Like I know like that number is like slowly rising as to like where the floor of the scene is at as more people play, and
Sure.
that number rises in the legend rank and whatnot. But that's my current goal, like online. Locally, what did I do? I did place it at the top 8 at the last tournament I went to, so that felt great. Um, I'd like to kind of hit into that top 4 area. I think I'm more than capable of doing that.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess locally, on a local level like that, I'd love to hit like a top 4 at one of the tournaments that I go to. And then on a grander scale, my big goal is to go to Evo, mainly just because like I haven't gone in years. I'm really enjoying this game. I mean, who knows what's going to come with like the season 2 changes or whatnot, but I
Sure.
still feel like I'm going to be playing this game at least for the next few years at least. And yeah, I just haven't
Wow.
been able to go to Evo. Um, a big part of me for going to Evo in the past was to see my friends from Alaska, so I really want to do that, especially because I went to my friend's wedding in September in Alaska. We were only there for 2 days, and I was just like, people wanted to play me because they're just like, oh, they wanted to play your Dulcim, and like we didn't have a chance to play because I was only there for 2 days, and I missed that aspect of it, and seeing that's like the one major that they all go to because it's like the biggest one. It's in Vegas. Like
Sure.
if
Yeah.
they're gonna pick an event to go to, why not go to Evo of all things? It's not the same going to like, oh yeah, we'll go to CEO and we're gonna go hang out in Florida, right? you know, if
Yeah.
we have the chance to go to the tournament and go to Vegas and gamble and go do all this other stuff, they're gonna go to that one. So I want to do that, and then if I can actually manage to do it with my work schedule and stuff, I'm actually really considering going the combo breaker and maybe doing that with my son. Um, just because like he's expressed interest in wanting to play. Like I'm never gonna force him to do anything, right? But like
Yeah.
every time like I play here and there, like he'll tell me the next day, he goes, I want to go play in the next one. Just like the secret lab. I went to the secret
Mhm.
lab, I got top 8, and he was like, oh yeah, I saw some of your matches. And he goes, I think I'm gonna enter the next one. And then we found out the date, and then like we had another wedding to go to, and he's like, oh man, but we gotta go to this wedding. And I'm just like, well, we'll go to the next one. So I'm hoping that he kind of still has that motivation and wants to play. And because like he plays online here and there. Like I think he hit gold 5 with like DJ, and like he'll tell me like, oh, I just did this. And like I haven't watched his replays and stuff, but like he's making progress. And like when I do watch him, I try to coach him and kind of break him with bad habits. But you know, so that might be something. That's probably like the secondary or maybe the stretch goal is to go to combo breaker. Evo's more than likely that's my top priority in doing anything.
Sure. That makes sense. How about
Yeah.
you, Maynard? Any
Yeah.
goals as a well, actually both of you guys as a goals as both a player and a TO in particular if you're interested in running events next year.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see about that. I might just
Yeah.
be fine, just kind of appearing. But go ahead,
Fair
Maynard.
enough.
I mean, as a TO, I want to figure something out for like a circuit, like a Ranbat style thing. I don't know what it is. I don't
Oh,
want to announce anything or talk
yeah,
about,
yeah,
but it is something that I want. I am planning or trying to figure something out. So,
yeah.
um,
That makes me think about something.
future me,
Yeah, me
if I
too.
didn't make it, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it is the goal. That's the plan or the want.
What about a circuit that every tournament that Maynard seems to get involved with or sucked into, you can be the X button circuit, and it's just whichever tournaments that Maynard is part of, you accrue points that way, and because it's all across the valley basically at this point, so everybody
Yeah,
will get their own taste of Maynard points,
Maynard
the X
points.
points.
But it's something that it is something I want to do. I want to figure it out, and hopefully, we still got what 15, 16 more days of this year, so hopefully I can figure something out before the start of the year and could try to launch it
Mm,
immediately. But as a player, the 3 tournaments I want to go to majors would be CEO, Combo Breaker, and Evo. The thing that sucks is that it's all within like a 3-month gap. So
yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
Yep.
scary thing. Realistically, I probably make 2 of those, but I am gonna make the attempt for the 3. Um,
Nice. That-
locally, like this is a rough one, I think, from where I'm currently because right now I'm averaging barely into top 8. There's times where I'm ninth, I'm in the top 7 or top 5, but I've never broken top 4. So far in Street Fighter 6. So
I'll meet you in
uh
top 4.
I want to get in the top 4, but I want to make an average of being in 4th is
Yeah.
the average of the next 6 months.
Mm.
So we'll
It's a
see where
lofty
I'm
goal.
at. Yeah, it's a big one. I'll look at how many players are in there and how many how many players and where
It's like,
my
Rainer,
placement is.
you didn't tell anybody about this tournament. There's only 4 of us here. It's like,
Goals. We're in there. So
I like that though. You're practicing consistency, right?
yeah.
yeah, that'd be the next team to step up there and get into the average of 4. And I'd be cool if I hit first once, but and then eighth another,
Yeah.
I'll average into 4. But I want to get there consistently and
Yeah.
just be able to be a threat.
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
feel like the fourth place spot is like the most hotly contested spot right now.
Yeah, I would
It
agree.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
And
agree.
it's getting scarier too. Big shout outs to Native Wolf and Freezy, both respectively for Tucson and Phoenix. They're both scary players that have just showed up this year, or at least for me, they just showed up this year, and they're threats. They're scary. I'm glad that they also play online frequently, so we're both leveling up together. But they're leveling real quick,
Yeah.
so very impressive. I'm proud of them, and I hope they keep climbing as well. And I could hope that I could catch up and beat them to that goal. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, no, like you talking about a circuit, it made me think about because like something I did in Street Fighter Five. I did what do they call it? Oh, the GMOC, the Grandmaster Online Challenge, and I did this like whole kind of like group thing, right? Like I found everybody that was interested. I separated them into kind of groups, like kind of like what they do for like soccer and like the World Cup, or I guess even like Smash tournaments do it kind of thing. And I had people like just play their games, right? Like do round robin amongst the four people in your group, right? Play your other three opponents, track your scores and stuff. Top two, we're moving on into like the elimination bracket or whatever like that. And then I
It was
had
a
a
Swiss tournament.
Centrius. I had
Cool.
Centrius Abe help with like the streaming of stuff. I think the final top eight.
I
Um,
streamed it, if I recall correctly.
oh
I
no,
was
yeah,
the one who
you were
streamed
helping.
it.
You were the one that streamed it. No, I think
I'm the
you
best.
did some of it. Yeah, I know you helped with some of it. Yeah, I
I think
thought I thought I
Abe and I
had.
did it together though. I think he was commentating,
Oh, okay.
and then I was
Yeah,
the one
but like
streaming it, if I recall
yeah,
correctly.
especially with like the net code being so strong in this game. I don't know. One thing that I've always wanted to do, like in relation to kind of like sports games, was to just kind of like run like a league and just kind of do like weekly things, right? And just like have like a pool of players that are dedicated to playing, and then just have like a weekly matchup. Uh, this is who you're playing, or I mean, you could play multiple times a week too if people wanted to play that frequently, and then just keep track of your win loss record, right? Just like the standings for football or basketball or whatever, right? Have
Hmm.
top seeds make it into like a playoff bracket or whatever, and then kind of go from there. That's something that I've always wanted to do. That just would be like consistent for people to play like weekly.
That's kind of like what Ranbats were in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
So we'll see if I'm curious about how a circuit would be received by our community. Again, we're a
yeah,
big scene, so I think being able to uh, keep it from being too forcibly located in one spot, I think is important. So that way you
yeah.
reach the maximum amount of people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why the big thing is like if I could do it online and then everybody can kind of just play, that's basically what they did with the GMOC was like, hey, find time with your opponent and you guys sort it out amongst yourselves, play sometime during the week, post your results, right? And we had some trouble with some people just being like really hard to get a hold of and just like, hey, I can't get a hold of this guy, nobody can get a hold of this guy, and they're just like, hey man, you gotta play your matches, you're the one holding up this whole thing.
Hmm.
And that was like the only negative thing. But I mean, we have a pretty active community right now that if people wanted to do something like that, I don't think it would be too hard to organize. And then like the top eight or whatever, the final would be just that would probably be the hardest thing to kind of get everybody to be like, all right, we're gonna run this top eight like today. Like, do you guys got 2 hours out of your day to do this now, and we can just get it done? And that might be the probably the biggest hurdle I could see.
I mean, we could also take the Capcom Pro Tour route and be like, just an organization just goes and talks to each of the individual local tournaments, and then just that's like each local tournament that's already running and doing its own thing also gives
Mm.
points, and that's it. And then we just like if let's say we had an absolute guard circuit, right? And then we
Yeah,
could just tally the points, and at the end of the day, the amount of work that we would do, we would just keep track of the points. We're not running the events
yeah,
or anything, right?
yeah,
Unless your name
yeah.
is Maynard and you're doing every fucking thing. Um, that would
All
be an
right.
idea I might pursue actually this year. That sounds fun. But if but the other thing is that other people might be thinking that too, and so I just need to go find those people and partner up with them.
Yeah.
I think it can be a team effort. It doesn't have to be like one person running the whole show.
Yeah, and that's one thing I definitely learned from just doing TOing in general. That I'd probably be my biggest advice to you, Maynard, is like delegate some things to other people. Find people that you trust. Find people that are reliable, and if you can delegate some duties, like that's just gonna help you out in the end. I mean, luckily for me, I had my wife and my kids to kind of do stuff. Like they were running brackets. I'm like, hey, this is how you do
Child
this. You
labor.
handle this for me.
Yeah. Got it. So get a wife and get kids. Got it.
Yeah, got it. Wife and kids in the next,
But then you won't have
Okay.
time to play video games.
All right, so we were gonna kind of hard cut off here in about 5 minutes. So I think the last thing was for you, John. Like, what are your goals for, I guess, Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 6 as a player going into 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of fell off after Evo. I had a wedding to plan, and I was getting married, and the marriage redefined my entire life. It redefined all my priorities. I wasn't expecting that because I was just like, we've been living together for for 6 years, 7 years. She's gonna roast me for not knowing that.
Hey, welcome to marriage.
Yep. I'm gonna just a heads up, Betty. Like I think your mic just went south. I'm gonna mute you temporarily. um, but the yeah, my goal I think is gonna be to come back basically. And right now I think I've fallen. I think I'm competing for that fourth spot that you guys are already competing for too. So I'm probably gonna try to get to there. I would like to get to a point where I'm winning tournaments again. And then as far as like the actual travel goes, and I've unmuted you again, Benny. Maybe the mic is back to the way it used to
Okay.
be. Nope, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Hey, do you hear that, Maynard, or is it just me?
I don't.
Oh, I
Oh,
hear that
okay.
from Maynard too. Okay, I think my audio
Okay.
interface might be
Oh,
breaking down
see?
here. So
Dang, John, put it on me.
sorry.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Maybe the stream is fine too. Maybe it's just all in my head,
Crazy
literally.
said it sound on the stream. Like, I don't know.
It sounds. Oh man. Okay, it's all in my head. Great. What was I saying? Oh, right. Yeah.
You're talking
So
about the majors and the travel and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna go to we're gonna go to Vegas for sure for Evo. That's already on the list. But I got done planning out my trips for the coming year with Jess. Like as far as like our marriage trips, we have our honeymoon. We're gonna go on. We have a couple vacations with friends. We want to go see some family. So I think I'm gonna shoot for Evo for sure, and then Combo Breaker is likely since Jess has family up there anyway. And then from there, it's kind of a crapshoot. If I end up, because I'll be like, we're gonna go to Germany in December, so I might try to see what the German fighting community is like.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'm trying to go to Germany in 2025.
nice. I'll let you know how it is. And then Evo Japan was on the list this year or for 2024, but because of all the other vacationing that we're gonna do, I think I'm actually gonna shoot for Evo Japan in 2025. But that's the plan right now, I think.
Nice.
That's great.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Well, we have hit our hard cutoff time, so thanks everybody for tuning in. Maynard or Benny, or do you all have any shout outs or anything on the way out here?
I just appreciate the absolute guard, everyone in the Discord, and everyone calling for matches. Thanks for always being there and gaming with me and helping everyone level up. Like it's great to see that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, man. Like I said, the Discord, the Spiral Series Discord in itself, I think has been a big part of my involvement in the community right now, other than the podcast. And yeah, it's been real easy to find games against people. Like, I mean, there was a time where I was just like, I'd see people post in there, and I just don't want to play them. I just want to play ranked. Like that MR is, uh, it's a sickening drug, but whatever. But yeah, no, I do appreciate people like calling out for games, and like, yeah, I will take you guys up on that as I have time. It's just like I just have weird availability, so like, I mean, maybe I should just post in the morning too, because like that's usually when I play. Like I'll get home at like 9 o'clock, and I'll be like, I'll just play ranked. Maybe I should just throw it out there. I'm like, anybody want to play right now? Like I don't know who's available.
I second the shout out to everybody in our scene and in the Spiral Series community. We are but one pocket in the Arizona scene, and as I have kind of alluded to on this show, like I'm really excited to honestly leave the scene, and see where you guys take it as future leaders of the entire community.
Yeah, just come in randomly and just gatekeep. It's like, oh shit, it's Portageon. And it's like, you're not getting fourth place today, buddy. Like, damn.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. Again, I'm trying to come back, but the state of the scene is very strong. So, This has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 66 with John, Benny, and Maynard. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is our first live episode in a while. I think that we've had such a engaged audience. So come back soon.
Sometimes.
We'll see you later.
See you later, guys.
Got one.
See ya. You guys really don't hear that?
Nope.
No, I don't
It
hear-
sounds
I don't hear shit.
horrible.